everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing the mid-year BookTok because we are almost in July, which is literally insane. I cannot comprehend that we are already 6 months into 2026. It was just New Year's Eve. But obviously I want to talk about like the books that I have read in the past 6 months. I've seen other people do this tag on YouTube the previous years, so I just copied all their questions and I have answered them on my phone, and now I'm ready to talk about them. First off, for a little book stats, I have read 41 books so far when I'm filming this video, and I believe my goal is set to 65, so I should definitely be able to reach it, especially because it's almost summer break and then I have so much time to read, so hopefully I could hit, like, I don't even know, maybe I could even hit that goal before summer is over. But I guess those were just like the stats, the amount of books, because then the rest of like the stats will come throughout the questions. Question number 1 is best book you read in 2026. And I need to get a physical copy of this book because I loved it, but it only came out here in May, I believe, which was The Burning Side by Sara. I loved that book so much. I read it in like a day. It was just so incredible and I kept tearing up over and over again. It's a relatively short book, around 300 pages, and it focuses on like marriage problems and divorce and communication issues, motherhood, family dynamics. Like, it just is so good at like portraying those family dynamics, and you get different point of views from like both of the people in the original couple, and you get mother-in-law slash mother, depending on which of the characters we're talking about, flashback chapters in the present tense, and it's done so well. How we fight for each other and be there for the people that you care about. It's such a good book, and I would definitely recommend it to literally anyone. It's a literary fiction. I was obsessed with it. I am obsessed with it, and I need to own it physically. Like, I need it on my shelf immediately. The best sequel you've read so far this year. One of them is in a reading vlog that will either already be out or be out very soon, but is Clockwork Prince, which is the second book in the Infernal Devices. I am reading the whole trilogy right now and making a whole vlog of it. I have no clue how long it's going to be, but this was a really good sequel. I feel like half the vlog is me talking about this book and reading quotes from it. Cassandra Clare writes so well. I've never read anything by her before, but I definitely want to in the future because it's just so well done. I love it. I love the characters and the story and the development. I did feel like it was a little bit slow, like the first 100 or so pages, but for a 500-page book, I was definitely entertained for most of it and tearing up and just feeling so invested into the story. Not just the fantasy element, but also like the actual characters and like the found family in this story. Just obsessed. But you will hear much more about my thoughts in the reading vlog. And I actually chose a second book for this question as well, which is Broken Dove, which is the second book after Silver Elite that came out last year. I was debating giving this book 5 stars. I ended up giving it a 4.75, and I can't spoil why those 0.25 makes a difference, but they just do, because it's a 600-page book. I was entertained and loved the entire book, but then there are just things where I'm like, I didn't like this one aspect of this book, but I was still entertained the whole time, but I still feel like I didn't like that, so it just can't get 5 stars. But I loved it more than Silver Elite. Before I read it, I had watched some summaries on TikTok because I just wanted to make sure that I remembered everything going into Broken Dove, and I'm very happy that I did. But just, it was so good. Like, I was just truly entertained, glued to the page the whole time. I just wanted to read. I wanted to know what was going to happen, and I was so upset to finish it, and I cannot wait for the third one. So that was a phenomenal sequel, but I also really enjoyed the first one. So, new release you haven't read yet but want to. One of them is In Her Own League by Liz Tom Ford, which is like, it's kind of a standalone. It's not entirely a part of the Windy City series. It's a spin-off, I believe, but it does have characters from the Windy City series that got their own story in this book, and it came out in like March, and I still haven't read it. I just haven't been in the mood to read this specific type of book. And then there's just something about the main male character. I really like him. His name is Emmett, but the thing is that in some of the other books he's a grandfather, and I know he's young to be a grandfather. I think he's only in his 40s. It's just like, for me, I'm like, oh, I've seen him as like your dad and then a grandfather to this child, and now now I have to read his love story and like read potential smut about him. It just feels weird, but I do really want to read it because I love the Windy City series and I want to see like the other characters be a part of the story as well. So I will be getting to it and maybe I'll bring it with me on vacation. I don't know. And the other book is Our Perfect Storm by Carly Fortune. I really enjoy Carly's books. I've read most of them. I think the only one I haven't read is Meet Me at the Lake. So maybe I'll get to that at some point. Her books just really feel like summer. So I really want to read it, but I just see some mixed reviews. Some people really don't like it and that scares me. And I also don't know if I love the premise of the book. I think they're childhood best friends, or at least best friends, but she gets left at the altar. And then they together, her and her best friend, go on what was supposed to be her honeymoon. And then they like fall in love, but just that seems just a little bit crazy to me sometimes, because when you think about it, it's like you were going to get married to one man and 7 days later you're in love with someone else. Obviously I don't know if the whole book is the honeymoon or if like more time passes. I will see when I get to it, but I definitely want to read it, potentially on vacation. Most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I have 3, but 2 of them are like the same series category, which is Silver Sweet and Loaded Love by Kristen Becca and Richie. It's the same authors as the Addicted Calloway Sisters series and the Leica series, but they have made another spin-off. So there's like, I think there are 4 or 5 spin-offs of the same universe, I think. And this one is called The Cobalt Empire. Right now there's only 1 book out called Burn Bright, which I read last year. It came out like in September, but 2 of them are coming out this year. One in August, which is Silver Sweet, and then Loaded Love, I believe, is in November. By the way, the most stunning cover ever. I need to own it physically. Like, they are so beautiful, but I cannot wait to read those. So obviously there are some of the Cobalt children and then their love interest and like love story, and I'm so excited for them to get out because I could live in that universe forever. If no other books came out, honestly, and only books about this universe forever, I think I would be satisfied. I think I would. And the other book I'm really excited about is The Unknown by Riley Sager. It's a thriller mystery, is what usually his books are, and I am so excited about this one. I love Riley Sager in general. This one seems so exciting, about like this island that's kind of haunted. I think it's a bit of a supernatural element to it, but like people are dying on this island, and then this girl is going to film a movie there, I think, and she's going to be like the main character, and they have to go to the island to prepare before they start filming, and some weird shit is going down. It comes out in August, I believe, and I cannot wait to get my hands on it. I'm so excited. I love Riley Sager. Biggest surprise this year. The first one is Into the Blue by Emma Brody. The reason why this is a surprise is because I do love romances, but I very rarely rate them 5 stars and like love them in recent times as my taste has developed. I love a good romance, but it's not what like gets my gears going. It's just for a fun time. But this one is the first one I've rated 5 stars in over a year since Play Along in the Windy City series when I read that last year. I loved it so much. I was crying. I loved the characters. I loved the way it was done. It was a second chance romance, but told in chronological order. So often I feel like a second chance romance is told with flashbacks chapters. So you're like, what happened? And then you have to like read it in between the story. But this one is told fully in chronological order with time jumps from whenever they run into each other. And it has like it has an acting element because they're both in the industry in 2 different ways, and a lot of improv acting, and they just know each other so well, and they are soulmates. If it was a fantasy book, they would be soulmates, like fated soulmates. They're just perfect for each other, and I loved the book so much. And yeah, it was just a big surprise for me. Even though I'd seen really good reviews about it, I still wasn't sure if I was like going to love it the way that other people did, because it is a romance, but I absolutely did. And then the other one, biggest surprise, which was in a negative way, was Furybound by Sable Sorensen, which is the sequel to Direbound, which was one of my 5-star reads from last year. I did not enjoy Furybound, and I think I rated it 3 stars, so it wasn't like horrible or anything. I just didn't really love it. I found the smut to be very, very cringy, and I just wanted to skip ahead and close my eyes. I felt the plot was a little bit slow moving, and just it was a long book where not a lot happened. Even though I know the things did happen, I don't know, I just didn't connect to it the same way that I did with Direbound. Like, I loved Direbound, but this time I was just not really into it. Maybe it's because the characters got together. But yeah, I don't know. It was just a letdown, which was really unfortunate because I was so excited. Like the second that book came out, it was on my Kindle and I was reading it. And then it took me over a week to get through it because I just wasn't interested. But I finished it and I will probably read the third one whenever that one comes out. Because I do want to know how it ends, but just, yeah, I don't know. I'm not as invested anymore. And it makes me want to not rate Diary-Bound 5 stars. Like I did a video about my favorite books and I didn't include Diary-Bound because I feel like a series often, especially when it's not standalones, like interconnected standalones, I feel like it kind of ruined the first one that I didn't love the second one. So it made me not want to be like, oh, Diary-Bound is my favorite book because I don't know if it is anymore. Favorite author, debut or new to you? So I'm going to choose Sara because like I said, The Burning Side was my favorite book of 2026 so far. And I also read her other book, The Bright Years, this year. So I believe those are only 2 books. I believe she's a debut author with The Bright Years and then now The Burning Side, and I've read both of them. I rated The Bright Years 4.5 and then The Burning Side 5 stars. I love her writing. I cannot wait to see all the books that she writes in the future. She does such a phenomenal job in like making me feel things and be deeply connected to these characters while not writing a 600-page book, because I think that's the issue with like book publishing in more recent days, is that so many authors want to write such a long book, but sometimes you just lose interest because it gets too long and too repetitive, where Sara just understands that sweet point, like around the 300-page mark. It's just, it feels perfect. Like I feel connected to the characters and I'm crying and I love it, but I don't get bored of it because it's not too long, which is just, I love. So if you haven't read her yet, you definitely should try and pick her up. Even if you don't like literary fiction, I believe you would love it because it's not too long. Newest fictional crush, and I was kind of unsure how to do it because it's from Shield of Sparrows, but his name isn't revealed. Like, not necessarily that it's a plot point. She keeps asking what is his real name and he's not going to tell her, so I feel like I wouldn't want to spoil it by saying his name, but he's called the Guardian in Shield of Sparrows and I am obsessed with him. I love him. I think he is very attractive and sweet and lovely. So yeah, the Guardian. I am so happy that I finally read Shield of Sparrows, and I read it right around the time that the second one came out, so I read both of them back to back and I had a great time. I loved it so much. I'm so excited for the third one, like so excited for the third one. So yeah, but the Guardian, he has my heart. Books that have made me cry. One of them is The Women by Kristen Hanna. I didn't like sob my eyes out like I did to one of her other books, The Nightingale, but I definitely did cry and tears were rolling down my face for the end of it. I wasn't sure that I was going to cry with this one. Like I thought I would, and then I got to like the last maybe 10 pages and I was just crying. She really knows how to do it. I can't wait to read more of her books. I love it. I love a good cry in a book because that means you feel connected to the characters and the story, and there's just nothing better in my opinion. So, and another one was Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I read this in January, I believe, and I was sitting on my parents' couch trying to like hide my face so that they couldn't see that I was sobbing. Like I was just crying and crying and crying for I don't even know how long to the end of this book. So emotional, and I loved every second of it. I loved every second of reading this book, and just, yeah, no, I just love. And honorary mention, because I'd already mentioned the book, but The Bright Years as well, and also The Burning Side by Sara, both of them had me crying as well. Books that made you happy. So one of them is Release Me, which is the second book in Tahara Mafi's new series, which is a spin-off of the Shatter Me series, which focuses on Adam's younger brother James and then his like love interest, but also just new things happening like with the rebellion and everything. I didn't like love the book. I read it all in one day, but it wasn't like a 5-star. I think I rated it a 3. It was definitely a filler book, but it made me happy because I love the characters. I love Shatter Me. I've read it twice and I would honestly read it again. I think it's just, I love the characters so much, and it's one of the first like series, and I read it all back to back in like 2021 or 2022, something like that. And then I reread it and I also read them back to back. So there's just something so nostalgic about those characters, so reading it was just funny because there are so many funny comedic moments in that book between those characters, and I had a great time reading it because of the characters. So it made me happy because I was just smiling and laughing at literally at the paper. And the other one is Lost and Lassoed by Lila Sage, which is the third book in like the done and dusted. I think it's called Rebel Blue Ranch or Blue Rebel Ranch. Either one of those. I read the first one, then I skipped the second one because I really wanted to read the third one, and I'm happy I did. It definitely made me happy. I love it. I love a good enemies to lovers. Obviously, enemies to lovers only really exist in fantasy, but you know what I mean. Like, they dislike each other. For his point of view, it's his sister's best friend, and obviously for her, it's her best friend's brother. Such a good trope, love that. And for his proximity, she has to kind of live at his house because she's helping him out over the summer with his child because it's also a single dad, so he's like, she's nannying for him, and I just love. So yeah, that one also just made me happy. Also feel things. There are definitely like also deeper emotions in that book, but it still made me happy because I love the banter. The most beautiful book you bought this year. One of them is Watch Me, and I was just talking about Release Me, which is the second one, but they didn't have it in paperback and I wanted to match this one. It has the most beautiful, stunning sprayed edges on the sides. There's nothing like on the top or bottom really except for the purple, but this is so pretty. And then this, I love the continuation of the eye on all of her books, and the colors are so beautiful, like the pink, the purple, the blue. I just think it's beautiful, both on the front and the back. So stunning. And the other one is The Correspondent by Virginia Evans. This is a hardback, and I usually never buy hardbacks, but I just think that this cover is so pretty. I love the color combination of like the pink with brown, dark red with the red of the mailbox on the front. I think it's so pretty, and I just had to own it. So both of those books I bought in London. You can go see my London book shopping video. What books do you need to read before the end of the year? One of them is Caraval. It is on my summer TBR, and I've been wanting to read it for so long, and I really have to because my friend annotated the second one in the series for me. So I need to start this series, and I really do want to. It is on like an immediate TBR in the next few months, hopefully this summer. I can't wait. Like, I'm so excited because people really seem to love it, and she really loves it. My friend who annotated it is like her favorite series. She owns like 1 million copies of this series. So yeah, I'm very excited to get to it. Another one is The X-Vows by Jessica Joyce. I have heard nothing but great things about this. I see people read it on TikTok, I've seen it on YouTube. It gives me the perfect summer vibes with the cover. It says, 2 exes, 1 wedding, what could go wrong? They broke up 5 years ago, so they're definitely over each other, right? Very excited to get to this book, and just, yeah, it's also been on my TBR for a while. Another one that I cannot wait to read and will potentially also read this summer is When the Moon Hatched, because the second one just came out and it has incredibly high ratings. I saw somewhere that like in the first week its rating was 4.7 out of 5 stars. That is insanely high. I need to read this series, and one of my friends really love it, so she said I can borrow her copy of it. So I might do that and bring it on vacation with me as well. I really want to read it because people rave about it a lot, and I want to be a part of it. I want to know what people are talking about. How many 5 stars have I had this year? So like I said, I read 41 books. A few of them are rereads, so I don't count those as 5 stars because they're not newly found 5 stars. I have had 4 5 stars this year. Not really that much. It's about, what, 10% out of my books are 5 stars. One of them being Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which I already talked about, but a story about women in space in the 80s, and also an incredibly beautiful love story as well at that. So it was phenomenal. The other one is The Names by Florence Knob. I obsessed with this. I made my friend read it. She also loved it. It's so good. About a mother who is supposed to name her son. Then we see 3 different lives that could happen if she named her child this, or that name. We follow this child for 35 years of his life to see what happens in each of these 3 lives. So incredibly done, so interesting. Definitely look up trigger warnings. It does talk about domestic violence. The other two were Into the Blue, like I've already talked about, and also The Burning Side by Sara. So those were my 4 5 stars. Hopefully I will have more. I think last year I ended around 8, maybe 7 or 8. So it does kind of track with having 4 at this time of the year, that maybe I'll be at the same amount as last year. But I've had a few decent 4.5 and then the 4.75. So I've been close and I've had some great reads. I just haven't like gotten more like 5-star reads. What books do you want to reread this year? One book I think I might want to reread is Kiss the Sky by Krista and Becca Ritchie, because I usually reread one of the books or more of this series every year, and I haven't reread any of them. Only from the Like Us series, which is my favorite, and I read them for the 4th time at the beginning of the year. But I need to reread this one, which is my favorite couple, potentially my favorite book in the series, except for like the epilogue novel. So this one is Connor and Rose, my favorite couple, my favorite characters. I love them to the moon and back. So I think I might want to reread this one. This is one of the OG covers with the woman on the front, and I've highlighted it horribly in here, but it's okay. And then because Every Summer After just came out, I want to reread that, but I don't own it. But I want to reread Every Summer After because I read it originally in 2022. So people are like, oh, it's not close to this book, like it doesn't follow the book. And I'm like, I don't really remember the book. I do remember some things, and I did know they had changed a few things, but I didn't like remember like nitty details. And then I want to reread One Golden Summer, which I read last year, because I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like I would potentially love it more the second time around than I did the first time. Yeah, I want to reread that as well, because in preparation for hopefully getting a season 2 for Every Year After is what they have called the series. A book you enjoyed with mixed reviews. One of them is The Night We Met by Abby Jimenez. I have seen a lot of people dislike this book, and I definitely understand why, because it's a very touchy subject. The trope is boyfriend's best friend. So our main character, it's dual point of view, but our main character has a boyfriend and it's his best friend that's the other point of view, and they are like the actual love interest, which is crazy. I know that. And the next book is actually from her now ex-boyfriend's his love story. Very excited about that, because the thing is, he's not a bad guy, he just does some bad things and he has some mental health problems that isn't the best environment for our main character to be in. And the other guy, just, they fit each other so well, they're perfect for each other, but if only they had like talked first, it could have been different. But a lot of people don't like this book, and I loved it. I think I rated it 4 stars, so definitely has some mixed reviews. And then the other one is Just Friends by Haley Pham, which I actually made a whole reading vlog of. I think I rated it like 3 stars or 3.5, but a lot of people hate it. Like they think it's horrible and that she should have never been allowed to publish a book. And I just don't feel like it was that bad. Like the first 100 or so pages had some weird sentences here and there, like some weird writing. But then the rest of it was okay and just felt like a normal summer romance, second chance. It just, I don't know. I don't think that it was that bad as people make it out to be, but obviously reading is subjective and maybe they do think it's that bad. I just personally didn't think it was that horrible, and I would honestly recommend it to someone if they were like, I want like a cute summer romance. Okay, read this one. Now we're at the last question, which is 5-star predictions for the rest of the year. One I think it could be is Hello Beautiful. I don't even know what it's about, but I think it does have some like family dynamic story as well, and I tend to love those. And then it's literary fiction. I think the cover is pretty and I just see people really love it, so I feel like it would be right up my alley. Then I have Blood Over Brighthaven, which is a fantasy, but a standalone fantasy, which is very, very rare, but it has a very high rating and people really love it again, so I feel like I could potentially really love it. And the last one is The River Is Waiting, which I also don't know what it's about, but for some reason it just speaks to me and I feel like I could rate it 5 stars and I would really love it. And if these are not 5 stars, maybe they would be 4 and 4.5. I don't feel like there's any of them I would dislike, but I don't know. Obviously, we'll see. Maybe I'll have to make a video of like trying to predict 5-star reads or reading like predicted 5-star reads. Those are the books that I think I would really love. I have books scattered all around me on my bed. But that was all for this video. Let me know any of the answers to these questions down in the comment section for your mid-year check-in. And then thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!